Good afternoon. My green screen has fallen down. Anyway, how is everyone today? Thumbs up? No comments whatsoever? Cool. Ryan gave a nod. Dylan's not happy. If it makes you feel any better, Dylan, neither am I. We'll talk about it in a minute. Oh, wait, it's 1:30. We'll talk about it now. All right. So, a couple of things. My graders went through and took a look at the last assignment, the forms assignment, and it seems pretty obvious that a lot of you have absolutely no idea how to do this. I think I was told the average grade in the class was like a 27%, somewhere along those. Was that right, Eric? I see.
It's about a 32 now.
32%. Okay.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, I think that's not really a good plan or what we should be aiming for. So we're going to hold off our jumping into more Node.js until tomorrow. And we're going to talk in a whole lot more detail about how to do this form assignment. So let's get to it. Let me share my screen. I'm going to position my Zoom windows a little bit differently. So bear with me for just a moment. Okay. Need a chat window up. All right, so this is the form demo that we did in class, that we've been doing in class. All the stuff we've been working on. And so let's see, when we left off, we've got our little form submit there. I'm going to hit F12 and I can type stuff in and it says true. When I've got something in there, I've got nothing in there, so it says false. We're going to modify this a whole lot. Now, I'm a little concerned because a lot of the stuff that I'm doing today is really just kind of basic coding other than the regular expressions. The regular expressions are supposed to be the real challenging part of the assignment, but I think a lot of people struggled with just getting some logic together. And there are lots of ways to approach this. The way that I'm doing it is just one way to do it. I would like to believe that people aren't just going to copy what I did because that's the easiest way to do it. I want you to look at it, figure it out, think about it for yourself. All right, let's get into it. So a couple of things. First thing is I'm going to modify this a bit just to start with. I think I want to have a couple of inputs. So I'm going to copy this. And I think we'll, instead of my text, since we have a couple of them, let's do fname for first name. And let's rename this one to lname. And then just so that they're laid out a little tidier, I'm going to put a line break on each. I'll save that and refresh. Oh no, uncaught error. Yeah, because we've been using my text in the other, in our script, and that doesn't exist anymore. And then I wanna move this down a bit, but I'm kind of too lazy to put a CSS in there and put a margin in. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some blank paragraphs in there. We'll just say, just so that I can see, error holder. This is the lazy man's way of doing this. You don't really want to do this, but I'll put some paragraphs in there. And oh yeah, those paragraphs need something in them. So I'm going to put a non-breaking space in there. So non-breaking space. That's a special character. Did I talk about that with you guys in intro? Maybe with some of you. You'll notice that if when you put lots of spaces in HTML, it only actually displays one, but you can use these special characters. It's a non-breaking space, and it will actually remember all of those. So this is very hackish of me, but again, I'm being too lazy to put, there we go, to put any CSS in there. So I'm putting my error thing down there. And I think that's pretty good for my HTML for now. So I've got ID of F name, ID of L name, bunch of spaces, and I've got a holder for my errors. I'm actually going to get rid of this text that says error holder. I put that in there just so that I could see how far down I was pushing it. And I think I've pushed it down far enough. You'll understand why I pushed it down in a minute. You don't necessarily have to do it in your form, but okay. So everything else, all the other magic that we're doing is going to happen here in our script. And the first thing probably that I want to do is change my text, since that no longer exists, to F name. Let me know if I'm doing anything that shocks anybody. I don't think I'm doing anything weird here. You know, we probably want to be able to target L name as well. And so these places, I'm not going to worry about my console log of my text anymore. I'm just going to comment that out. Let's see, I'm using my text here as well, and that's just a console log too. I'm going to get rid of that too. All right, so here's my name test. In truth, I kind of need a pattern for each and every one of my different things, right? Technically, with first name and last name, I only need one pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and define my pattern, const, and this will be my name pattern. And we decided on, we talked about different ways that we could do this. Tell me, I need to have at least 2 characters. I didn't really specify whether or not you used letters or numbers or whatever else. How can I do 2 or more characters here? Ooh, oh. Okay, so Kagan's saying, you know, we can use this 2 comma, okay, and then you decide what it's 2 of. I mean, if we just want to do letters, we could do A through Z, capital A through Z. And I'm okay with that. Not too many people that I know of have numbers in their name. I mean, I've thought about it, you know, changing my name to using LeetSpeak, but maybe that's a bad idea. Like it's a fad that's already passed. Anyway, so I've got my name pattern here. And I want to test both of these, right? I need to test those against what I'm doing. So I no longer need this name pattern. I don't need any of this nonsense here. Okay, so I got to write my validate. And probably the first thing I want to do is let's test. And if I were to write test on, you know, testing name pattern against, I could do it against my fname value, right? Would that work? Okay, I'm seeing some heads nod. And if so, then errors is going to equal true. That's not really true, is it? Because if this is true, that means errors are false. But that gets confusing. So maybe I want to do this and put a not up here. So in other words, if this match isn't happening, then we've got an error. Is that true? And we need to do more than that, don't we? What else do we need to do? We can't just say, all right, you did it wrong. There's an error.
Just say what you did wrong.
Yeah, so.
And do participation.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, go ahead and do participations right now, if you would, please. Let me know what you all consider to be acceptable pizza toppings. So maybe I need like an error message, you know, a string that says, you know, first name needs to be at least, well, about minimum of 2 letters. Cool? Does that work? Would that make sense? And I could do the same thing. I could just copy this, I suppose, and say, oh, we got our last name here. We'll throw in the last name, and that one actually uses the same pattern. So this way we'll just say last name needs to be a minimum 2 letters. So if I were to save this isn't enough, by the way, but it does get us further. Okay. Oh, I've still got my text somewhere on line 36. So, oh yeah, we've got this event listener on my text. We want that event listener probably on fname. And while we're at it, we probably want an event listener on lname as well. And so I save those and I refresh, and I could say TOM. Now, something seems wrong here. Shouldn't it be telling me something's wrong? Dead silence from the crowd. What's wrong? What am I not doing? No one knows. They're not paying attention. I see. So do I ever, I've got this cool error message. Does it ever go anywhere? No, it doesn't. Maybe we should make sure it doesn't do that. Okay, so I'm gonna change this errors. By the way, I've got this errors equals true. That's kind of silly because that basically says it's always gonna have errors whether I have them or not. So I've got this my errors that I created. It's a div, and there's a typo up here. Should probably change that to error so it's not a problem. And so my errors, and what do I want to do here? My errors is our div. What do I need? Dot inner HTML. Well done, Kia. Okay, equals what? Equals error message. Cool. Love it. All right.
Question.
Yeah.
if it is error underscore message, wouldn't it be pulling all of the other errors underscore messages?
So what kind of object is error underscore message?
It's a text.
Okay, so it's string, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say both of these are bad. What is error message going to equal if I get false on both of these? If I get a bad match?
That's what I'm not sure about.
So, okay, so what happens? Let's say I say A equals hello, A equals goodbye, and then I console log A. What's the value going to be?
It'll be the first one, right?
Well, let's think about this for a minute. If I say, if I got a string, let's say, here, I'm going to do this. A equals hello, not helio. B equals goodbye. Oh, no, not B equals goodbye. A equals goodbye, sorry. What happens if I console log A? What's the value of A right now?
It's a string.
Okay, but I have assigned that string.
Oh, so it'd be goodbye. It'd be the last thing.
It is, because we reassigned it, right?
Okay.
Okay. So let's say both of these don't have a pattern match on either the first name or the last name. Tell me the value of error message then.
It would be the last name.
Yes, it would. Excellent. Now, that seems a little strange since the last name's the second one, and we usually want them to fix top down. So what would I probably want to do here to make sure that it warns me about the first name first until I get that right, and then will warn me about the last name?
We'd have to start on the first one somehow and then go down from there. So
We'll start on the first one?
yeah, so we'll start on a F name.
We do start on F name. That's the first one it checks. And then it's going to reassign the error message. And then it's going to check the last name and it's going to reassign the error message. Can anyone help him out? What's a way that I could approach this to make sure that I get the error message on the first name first until I get that fixed? Think of it this way. Why does it give me the error message on the last name? And let's make sure it actually does. You know, I could be just making stuff up because you know me. All right, so let's refresh. And I'm going to say T-O-O-O. And it's telling me I got a problem here. But it's telling me about my last name. And I seem to still have a problem here.
It never goes away.
Okay, good.
So once they fix it, we need to clear that text somehow.
All right. How can I go about doing that? We're talking two problems now at once, but let's talk about how do I clear it? Where does error message get set? Where do we set the value of error message?
Within the if statements.
Okay, so we got, hang on, we've got some comments here. What about moving my errors, inner HTML error message, into the first statement? So taking this, and putting it in here? Is that what you're saying? So how about this? What if I leave this here? And else, oh, we could do that. Let me show you something. You guys are overthinking this a little bit. What if, how often does validate get run? Yeah, every input and also when we hit submit. So what if I were to say error message equals, and I made my error message blank. So each time validate runs, I reset the value of error message. And then as it goes through, if any of these are errors, it's going to reassign error message. So let's see. Let me refresh this. And I say and it's still checking my last name because my last name isn't good. But as soon as, ooh, wait a minute. We got some problems here. Why do we have some problems? There's another thing that needs changing. What's the value of errors? After the first time I start doing this, what's the value of errors?
True.
Okay, so if errors is true and we never reassign it to false, it's always going to have an error for us, isn't it? What happens if I were to say errors equals false before you get to those if statements? So still telling me my last name is not right because it isn't. Still telling me I got problems. There's something in here actually. Is a little funky. So error message right now let's go ahead, reset it right at the beginning. Something weird is happening. Set our errors false. Oh, yeah, you're right. Clayton brought something up there. I made a typo in my regex. Do y'all see what the typo is? What's my typo? What does that match to? Tell me what the pattern is for that.
Is it one lowercase followed by two or more
uppercase?
Yep, because I've got them in two separate classes. There we go. Now, here we go. So, still telling me my last name is wrong, but as soon as I get at least 2 characters in there, it goes away. Cool? Okay, so I've still got my problem. I want it to test, I want it to give me an error on my first name first, right? Good catch, Clayton. Gold star. I'd give you a Baby Yoda if I had one. Not that you'd want it because, you know, it came from Wuhan. Anyway. So how do I make it so that it gives me the first name error first? Until I get my first name in, and then it switches to the last name. So I do have separate error messages, don't I? Oh, you mean create separate divs so that then you start out with a whole list of them. You could do that. That would be one solution. What would happen though? I mean, I'm just, you know, throwing out an idea here. What if I test from the bottom up? So what's my error message going to be when I refresh this? Oh, my first name needs to be a minimum of 2 letters. Okay, I'll put another letter in there. And now it's telling me I've got something wrong with my last name. Okay, I better fix that then. Oh, now I should be good to submit. What if I go back and I refresh and I don't put anything in? Oh, I got another problem here. What's my other problem? Dead silence. Can I submit this? Oh, I've got errors. That's not very descriptive, is it? Well, if I look here, this says I have errors. Okay, fair point. What if I get rid of that? Refresh, submit. Oh, my first name needs to be a minimum of 2 letters. Oh, now it says my last name needs to be. Does that work? Cool. Everything functioning the way we want? Does the logic make sense? This is not the only way to do it. There are lots and lots of ways. It's programming. This is the way I'm approaching it here because, quite frankly, the way I might write it would be a little more compacted, but maybe a little harder to understand. But you're going to need to create patterns for all of the different things. You're going to need to check to see if the input has been changed on all of the different fields. And you need to give a custom error message. Does anyone have any questions about how this is done?
Yes, I don't know how to do the regex for the password.
Oh,
That's the only thing I could not figure out because, yeah, I just don't know.
so I'm about to make this a whole lot easier for you. Is it possible to do the regex for the password with one pattern? Yes. Is it more of a pain to do it that way? Yes. There is nothing that says you can't use multiple patterns to ensure your password has all the different things that you need. Does that make sense?
Are you saying use multiple regex?
Test it multiple times.
Oh, okay.
Does it have a
I
special?
didn't even think of that.
Do you have to do it that way? Nope. Can you do it that way? Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, definitely. Kayla says, pay attention to regex syntax. 90% of the time, her syntax wasn't in its own little parentheses for each part, and it was angry. Yes. Regex is a pain to decipher. It's a pain to work with. Hopefully, if you look at the tutorials I've got on my site, that will make life a lot easier. If you don't understand how to piece them all together, then I would strongly recommend that you maybe watch the video again for that class period. Colby's saying regex 101 was his best friend for the assignment. Yes, that can absolutely help you out. If you go, so you go to the regex, you'll notice that I put all of these in here, the try it out stuff. Just because these are links to my patterns that I created for you, because it's really cool, it lets you save your own patterns. You can make your own from scratch. So if you're testing, you know, I want to test first name and last name. Let's test the regex pattern that we created. Is this actually working the way we think? Let's paste it in there. And you don't paste the slashes are already assumed. And right now I've got the global flag set, so it's going to find all the patterns. And oh, yes, all of those are acceptable. But if I were to change this down to one character, it would not be. Our pattern's pretty good, isn't it? Maybe you're working on email, and I'm not going to do all of an email for you. But you know there are certain things an email needs to have. Like, for instance, I could say, well, A to Z, and followed by a plus symbol. So you need at least one or more. And then you probably need an @ symbol. And then you probably need, this is not going to be valid, by the way, for what you're trying to do, because I know I've got some different requirements. Followed by an A to Z, and you need 3. And then maybe a period, and you can't just use a period, because that would be a wild card. So you probably need to escape that. And then maybe you've got another A to Z. And maybe you've got 3 more characters there. This, by the way, will not fulfill the requirements for the assignment. there are some things that I did in here that I know do not match the requirements, but I could put, aha, well, a bunch of letters there, at 123 at .com. Oh, look, it's an email address. Does that make sense? Cool. If you need help with the regex, come see me. If you have any questions about this, or go see Clayton or Eric. They know what they're doing. Clayton caught me with my error in my regex. So I'm going to do something here. And I want everyone to redo that, get it into me this week. Okay, I will waive the late penalty on it. Okay, any questions about that? Also, do not try and go online and copy and paste some regex. You will find that I intentionally put some things in the requirements that will make it obvious that you've done that, because it won't actually match the way the requirements say. Cool, but Kayla, you got it working? Excellent. Okay, so Clayton, they're actually having you do regex in Java 1. There have been times where they have not really gotten to that, which is why it eventually got added to this class, because students were getting through without ever learning it.
Very complex regexes.
Okay, cool.
Lots of them.
Fair enough. So this will be good practice for you. All right. Any other questions? We got this? Parsing HTML with regex. That sounds like not much fun at all. You can do it. When you get to Python, if you wanted to, you can use Beautiful Soup and use regex in Beautiful Soup, and it's actually really great for doing that sort of stuff. Okay, let's go to work. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for now.